Getting back into the fantasy genre, I've been working on another animation with my Dragonman characters. Hopefully this one will be the best out of all of them. It's another Skyden Aurora scene. I've seen a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff for Lord of the Rings. It's just so much fun to see some of my favorite characters in such a different perspective. I mean, for example, in the movie, Legolas is usually really calm and stuff, but doesn't really smile much. Oh, but when he's on the set, behind the scenes, he laughs a lot more often and is quite funny sometimes. And yeah, that's a kind of combination that I really, well, of course, that's something I'd like to see out of people that I actually am able to see, you know, but it still is very funny. It also kind of reminds you of the time when I first found out about Game of Thrones. I found out about it when my friends from Montgomery College were talking about it. It was pretty cool at the time. I got some DVDs on it, but doesn't compare at all to Lord of the Rings, really. I mean, the dialogue's confusing and stuff, and yeah, I know I already said stuff like that, but why is it that I seem to take a liking to characters that lots of other people like? You know, like Daenerys Targaryen and Legolas. I bet there are a lot of people out there that hate them just because everybody likes them. You know? On WatchMojo.com, they did name Daenerys Targaryen the #1 queen in fantasy movies and shows. I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with that, but I, for one, do agree with it because she's my favorite Game of Thrones character. Yeah. There are just so many Game of Thrones characters that I just took a real hate on. And sometimes I'm just so happy when they get what they deserve. Like, I don't remember his name, but Daenerys' older brother, he may have been handsome, but he was such a jerk. Gosh, you know what, I gotta say, that was a fitting end for him. Getting dumped on the head with molten gold. It was gruesome, but he definitely deserved it. I don't care what kind of importance he had. Daenerys could totally make up for it, because she's much sweeter. And, well, she does have her cruel sides, but they're usually necessary. Yeah. It's so weird. I've been wasting my time watching these behind-the-scenes stuff on Lord of the Rings and stuff, and I haven't bothered to watch the movies even though I have them. Gee, I guess I've just been too excited with my dragon characters. Whenever I'm playing around with my dragon characters, I get more into Spyro. You know, that fun game. I mean, I'm not gonna deny it. I am a huge fan of the Legend of Spyro series. But I do have to admit, the original Spyro games seem like a lot of fun, even though they're so old now. The only original Spyro game that I actually played was A Hero's Tale, and I think it was fantastic. The open world environment was great. It's unfortunate that in the first two Legend of Spyro games it was a complete linear structure. It would have been so much better if there was like an open world to travel across, like Skyrim. I plan to do that for my Dragonman game. But then again, unlike Skyrim, in Dragonman, the first game you only play as one character, and that's Skyden. And then, as more games come around, you can play as more and more characters. Yeah. But Skyrim is just so much fun. So many places to explore, so many motivations to keep you going. My dark elf character is so unlike most of the characters that I make in games like that, where you get to make your own character. Yeah, the Dark Elf now has captured like 12 dragon souls, and she already used a bunch of them to unlock the shouts. And she currently has the only Argonian? Those reptilian men? She has what I've heard, the only Argonian follower, and that is so fantastic, because those things are so badass, but not as badass as the Dark Elves. I do have to say, though, the Skyrim characters that you make aren't really all that attractive. Maybe they're just too realistic or something. Yeah, but I have to say, you know what? Ever since I saw the trailer for that movie Warcraft, I've seen orcs a little more differently than I used to. Because I saw in that trailer there were actually a few female orcs that seemed kinda, well, unlike anything I'd expect from any kind of orc. If there are female orcs like that, what about male orcs like that? I mean, probably not, because, yeah, for orcs there's no other life but war, but, you know, the funny thing is, Warcraft actually comes out in June, and my birthday is in June. It would be so much fun if I got to go see that movie for my birthday. And we don't have much time left. Sooner or later, before we all know it, we're going to be off from class in college, and I'll be free to work on my animations, try to get a job for once, and it'll just be so much fun. I'm gonna make more animations, more drawings, more characters, play more video games. Yeah. Soon, before we know it, school will be over, and I just can't wait for it to be soon. I think one of my favorite parts of Game of Thrones was when Joffrey died. It was a fitting end for a person as cruel as he was. To die suffering a painful death of poisoning, but I personally would have enjoyed it so much better if he had died the way I had imagined and wished he could. If Arya Stark could, like, shove a spear up his ass and let gravity do the rest. Yeah, don't be fooled by that girl's size and age. She is, from what I've seen, she's actually pretty badass for her age and, well, yeah, you know. Yeah, what else? Another thing, yeah, Legolas is definitely my favorite Lord of the Rings character, but, and quite honestly, I could see why people would dislike him. I mean, the fact that he goes through the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy without drawing blood, that for me is even for me, is kinda overkill. Mostly because he just has, like, okay, yeah, I know, I got a thing for guys with long hair and handsome faces, but yeah, he's still a pretty cool character. The thing is, I would have liked it so much better if he had smiled and laughed more often, like how he did behind the scenes. Yeah, what else? You know what, I have these books all about how to draw different kinds of fantasy creatures. Yeah. You got these dragons, these fantasy beasts. They really get me in the mood. for the fantasy genre. Yeah, seriously. I wish I could still play Besom, like that Dungeons and Dragons anime game. Well, Dungeons and Dragons would have been much cooler by itself, probably. But then again, I still do consider myself a beginner at that kind of game, so... Well, if I'm lucky, I'll be able to learn about it in my non-digital gaming class. Yeah. I've been on this for like 10 minutes and 36 seconds. It really is fun to do this kind of stuff. Just make random videos of me talking about what's going on and stuff. Random updates. Seems like something that celebrities would do, or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, I think that should be enough for now.